Let's continue this conversation about Shohei Ohtani. Seems like every time we open the show with Shohei, but he is the show. And today, some good news for Angels fans. He avoided arbitration, signed a one-year, $30 million contract for the 2023 season. Yes, he was under contract for the Angels for one more year already. But, Gooby, you've gone through that arbitration process. It can be nasty. What does this mean for the Angels to get this done early?
Well, guys, I think it's a couple things, too. It's a great thing for Angels fans, and it's also great for baseball because the minute it was put out there by the Angels PR, everyone around baseball said Shohei Ohtani is now signed for the 2023 season. And when you go through that process, it's not fun. You're sitting at a desk, and the team, the Angels, will be saying some negative things about you, and you're listening to that, your agent saying the positive things. Is go back and forth because an arbitrator is going to make that decision on what you're going to make next year. I think it was a great decision by the Angels to get this thing done, along with Shohei Ohtani's camp, to get this thing done as quick as possible so they can move forward and put together a better and more deeper roster for 2023.
Well, I think in what you're alluding to there is the team-friendly aspect of this deal.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is something that with the team up for sale, it might not be an offseason like we're used to seeing where, you're going to go out there and sign the big free agents. So you might be stuck with a number that you've been dealing with, and to have a player like Ohtani signed to this kind of a deal, I think it really opens up, or it gives you a better game plan of what you can go after early in the game rather than, wondering about it late into the, Christmas time or whatever.
Yeah, it gives you that flexibility in the payroll, regardless of what happens as far as, the ownership situation with the Angels. It gives you that flexibility where you want to get deeper, you want that depth in your roster next year.
Biggest number handed out to a player who is arbitration eligible. The last player who had the highest one-year deal was Mookie Betts at $27 million back in 2020. And you mentioned, both of you mentioned, team-friendly, considering what we're seeing this year, a year like any other. He is basically, putting his AL MVP season last year behind him, and he has taken a few steps forward, Gooby. So when you look at what he's been able to do, and this is something, too, it would take place usually in January, right? Yep. I mean, this is relatively early to get this done.
Yeah, when you especially when you're exchanging numbers, your camp, and then of course the Angels camp would be exchanging numbers. So it's a process where sometimes it even drags into spring training. We've seen that a couple times this season. Obviously with the lockout, it was a little bit longer than normal, but it can stretch it out, and there's a lot of negativity when you go through that process. So getting this done, when you think about where he was the last few seasons on the payroll, to be able to get that kind of a jump in his salary, but you talk about Mookie Betts, and when you look at Shohei Ohtani, his numbers are like Mookie Betts swinging the bat, but he also has the pitching numbers like Justin Verlander or Jacob deGrom. So you put both of those together, and that's why you see that arbitration number.
Can we read into this a little bit, too, and say, you know what, team-friendly deal, getting it done early. Maybe Shohei's liking what he sees right now and where this Angel ball club's going.
Well, I mean, he was going to be here regardless one way or the other. I mean, to me, there's the other side of that I look at is, if we get into next year, you hope this doesn't happen, but maybe they go with a trade or move them. To me, that number right there, that's not only team friendly for the Angels, it looks really good for another team going to pick them up. So a lot of ways you can look at this, but I mean, he was going to be with the Angels one way or the other. It definitely allows both parties to go into the winter prepared, no animosity. You didn't have to go to the table, like you said. You're going to have Shohei with a normal offseason going into spring training, excited about playing his potentially maybe his last year with the Angels with, no feelings hurt, I guess, because you had to go through an arbitration process.
5 games left in the regular season. It is no doubt what Shohei Ohtani has been able to do both on the mound and at the plate. It's been incredible to watch, but he continues to get it done, Gooby, the day after he throws, which is incredible. Now, he had 2 hits last night. He's got a 15-game hitting streak. Oh, by the way, I feel like we're losing sight of the hit streak based on everything he's doing on the mound.
And 11 home runs during that stretch after. And every starting pitcher you've ever talked to, it's pitched a number of innings through a lot of pitches in a game. You're just happy to get out of bed and move the next day. He's dealing with 98-mile-an-hour fastballs, nasty secondary pitches, yet he's still putting up those numbers. It's just phenomenal to see. I love his smile on his face. And isn't it great every time he's at first base, immediately the first baseman is having a conversation with him because, hey, you're basically talking to Michael Jordan over there at first base with Shohei Ohtani. It's so phenomenal. He is having so much fun right now, and that's the thing. I think that's why that arbitration thing was done as quick as it was. was. He is having fun right now.
It's funny you're talking about from a pitcher standpoint. From a hitter standpoint, I'm counting down the days where I can crawl into bed and not get out for a week because you're exhausted as an everyday player. And here we're talking about a guy that, he's pulling, both sides of that there. I mean, it's amazing what he can do the day after his start. Without a doubt, we talk about the legs. I mean, how important they are to pitch, but how important they are to hit.
Yeah.
And he's out there able to do that the day after and go out there and, put up numbers. That's just so impressive. And, of course, run. I mean, you see him go first to third. You see him scoring from second, beating out a ground ball, breaking up a double play. He's done that all year long. And to go into September and just to see the hop in his step, I mean, he's a unicorn.
Yeah.
Alicorn, get it right. He's got the wings.
He's got the fastest time on average going home to first. How do you do that? When you mentioned how do you do that with your legs? Playing, he's hitting every day. Yeah. And he's also pitching at least once a week, sometimes depending on what day of the week it falls on his start. He potentially 2 times a week, and yet he's still going down to first base like that. And you mentioned go first to third and able to score on base hits and baseballs into the alleys. It's phenomenal how strong his mind is too.